Here's an expanded version of Part 1, in a more engaging, human-centric style. The wind howled across Europa's endless ice plains, whipping against the reinforced windows of Research Station Delta. June Park pressed his hand against the thick glass, his breath creating a small fog patch. At 12 years old, he wasn't like other kids. While most children dreamed of video games and soccer matches, he lived on a moon orbiting Jupiter, surrounded by scientists and strange equipment. That morning started differently. The station's usual hum of computer systems and distant drilling machines suddenly went quiet. June's father, a senior geological researcher, had been working late mapping the moon's complex underground network. Something felt off. Grabbing his specially designed thermal suit, a gift from his mom for his last birthday, June moved carefully. The suit was lightweight, but could withstand temperatures that would freeze a person solid in seconds. He'd trained since he could walk to navigate these treacherous environments, learning survival skills most adults would find challenging. The ice caverns beneath the station were like a hidden world. Layers of frozen water told stories older than human civilization, each crystal holding secrets of the universe. June had explored these tunnels dozens of times, mapping routes that even the station's senior researchers hadn't discovered. As he moved deeper, the silence became thick. No mechanical sounds, no distant conversations, just the crunch of his specialized boots against the ice and his steady breathing. Most kids would be terrified, but June felt something else, pure excitement. Then he saw it. A massive shape was slowly emerging from a deep crevasse, unlike anything he'd ever witnessed. Muscles, if you could call them muscles, seemed to pulse with an alien rhythm. The creature was easily the size of a small spacecraft, its body a complex network of biomechanical structures that seemed to shift and change with each movement. The research archives. This creature had a name that sent shivers through galactic communication channels. The apex predator, a being so terrifying that advanced alien civilizations would change entire migration routes just to avoid its potential hunting grounds. But June didn't run. He didn't scream. He simply adjusted his thermal gear, pulled out a small recording device, and watched with eyes filled with pure, unbridled curiosity. This wasn't fear. This was discovery. The creature's multiple sensory organs, a complex network of what looked like crystalline tentacles and pulsing membrane, slowly turned towards the small human figure. In thousands of years of existence, it had never encountered a being that didn't immediately trigger its hunting or defensive responses. June took one step forward. The creature took one massive, ground-shaking breath. Something extraordinary was about to happen. This approach maintains the core narrative while making it more engaging, human-centric, and natural. The language is simple, the tone is conversational, and it builds tension without relying on complex technical descriptions. The focus remains on June's human experience and curiosity, setting up an intriguing encounter that feels more like a personal adventure than a clinical sci-fi scenario. Would you like me to continue with the same style for the next parts? To the unexpected moment, time seemed to freeze in that ice cavern. June's heart raced, but not from fear, from pure electric excitement. The creature before him was unlike anything humanity had ever documented. Its body wasn't just a living thing, it was a complex machine of biological and mechanical parts, moving with a rhythm that seemed to dance between organic and artificial. Those sensory organs, a web of crystalline tendrils and pulsing membranes, slowly rotated towards June. In any other scenario, this would be the moment of pure terror. Creatures like these had decimated entire planetary defense systems, torn through starship hulls like paper, and left entire alien civilizations trembling. But June wasn't like most humans. He'd grown up listening to his parents' research conversations, understanding that the universe was more complex than simple predator-prey relationships. His mind worked differently. Where others saw a monster, he saw a puzzle waiting to be understood. The creature tilted its massive form, which was easily 3 times the size of the research station's main corridor. Its movement was graceful, almost curious. Those sensory organs didn't just look, They seemed to be scanning, processing, trying to understand this small human standing perfectly still. June remembered something his father always said. In the face of the unknown, curiosity is the bravest response. So he did something completely unexpected. He raised his hand, palm open, a universal gesture of peace that transcended language and species. No sudden movements, no threats, just a simple, human invitation to communicate. The creature's entire body seemed to pulse. Its mechanical parts clicked and whirred, creating a sound that was both terrifying and mesmerizing. June could feel vibrations through the ice, complex frequencies that seemed more like a language than random noise. Surprisingly, the beast didn't attack. It didn't retreat. It studied him. Researchers watching through remote cameras would later describe this moment as impossible. A creature known for destroying entire civilizations was being held at bay by a 12-year-old boy's unbroken gaze and complete lack of fear. June's mind was racing. He knew this encounter was more than just a chance meeting. This was a moment of potential communication, of breaking through barriers that generations of scientists and explorers had failed to cross. The creature's sensory organs began to emit a soft, almost musical humming. It wasn't threatening, it was communicative. Something was happening that no one had ever witnessed before. In that moment, June understood something profound. Fear was a choice. Curiosity was a superpower. His thermal suit felt light against his skin, his breathing steady. The ice around them seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The beast, this incredible, terrifying, magnificent being, was experiencing something entirely new. It had encountered thousands of species across multiple galaxies, but never a creature that responded to its presence with pure, unfiltered curiosity. June took another small step forward. The creature didn't move. Something extraordinary was unfolding. In the depths of Europa's frozen world, a connection that would change everything humanity understood about communication, about alien life, about the very nature of intelligence itself, and it all started with a single, unafraid human boy. The cavern around them seemed to pulse with potential, with the promise of a story that was just beginning to unfold. Would you like me to continue with the same narrative style for the next part? Part 3. The language of understanding alarms screamed through the research station's hollow corridors. Red emergency lights painted everything in a harsh, pulsing glow. Most humans would panic, but not June. He'd grown up in environments where split-second decisions meant survival. The research station's communication systems were going crazy. Panicked voices crackled through broken radio channels. Containment breach. Unidentified entity. Initiate emergency shutdown. But June knew something they didn't. This creature wasn't a threat. It was curious. His father's old translation. Device hung from his belt. A cobbled-together piece of technology that was more duct tape and hope than advanced engineering. Most scientists had written it off as useless, but June saw potential where others saw failure. The device had been designed to translate mathematical patterns across different species' communication systems. It was based on a simple principle. Mathematics is the most universal language in the universe. Numbers don't lie. They don't have cultural barriers, they simply exist. June began tapping a sequence on the device. Not random taps, carefully constructed mathematical patterns that represented complex ideas. Prime number sequences, Fibonacci progressions, geometric harmonies that spoke a language beyond words. The creature's sensory organs began to pulse. In response, it was listening. Each tap was a question, each vibration a potential answer. June wasn't just communicating, he was performing a delicate dance of understanding. The ice cavern became a stage of interspecies dialogue, with mathematical rhythms replacing spoken language. The station's senior researchers watched in complete disbelief through their monitoring systems. A 12-year-old boy was doing what billion-dollar research programs had failed to achieve for decades, establishing communication with an unknown, potentially dangerous entity. June's hands moved with practiced precision. Years of growing up in a research environment had given him skills most children his age couldn't imagine. He understood patterns, saw connections, where others saw chaos. The creature's body began to shift. its mechanical parts realigned, creating complex geometric shapes that seemed to respond to June's mathematical sequences. It wasn't just listening, it was participating in the conversation. "What are you?" June's sequence asked. The creature's response came through harmonic vibrations that made the ice around them tremble. This wasn't just survival. This was discovery. Emergency teams were preparing to storm the cavern. Weapons charged, protective suits sealed. They saw a potential threat. June saw a potential friend. His fingers continued their intricate dance across the translation device. Each tap was a bridge between two completely different forms of intelligence, between human curiosity and alien complexity. The station's systems continued to blare their warnings, but something more profound was happening. A communication that transcended human understanding was unfolding in the depths of Europa's frozen world. June took another step forward. The creature remained still. Two intelligent beings, separated by unimaginable differences, were finding a common language. And it all started with a boy who refused to see the world the way others told him to see it. Would you like me to continue with the same narrative approach for the next part? Part 4. The Unexpected Connection. The research station felt like it was holding its breath. Generations of scientists had studied alien life, developed complex theories, built massive communication arrays. And yet, here was a breakthrough happening, through the most unexpected channel possible. June's breathing remained steady. Each inhale, each exhale, rhythmic, calm, controlled. The creature, this massive biomechanical entity that had terrorized galaxies, started to match his breathing. Its massive body, capable of destroying entire planetary systems, began synchronizing with her 12-year-old boy's respiratory pattern. In the monitoring room, seasoned researchers dropped their coffee mugs. Veteran scientists who had spent decades studying interstellar phenomena were witnessing something unprecedented. A predator designed for galactic destruction was being pacified by a child's presence. Dr. Park, June's father, couldn't believe his eyes. Years of research, countless expeditions, billions in funding, and here was his son achieving what no advanced technological system could accomplish. The creature's sensory organs pulsed in a pattern matching June's heartbeat. Not aggressively, not as a predator, but as something learning. "It's studying him," whispered one researcher. "No," replied another. "It's communicating." June remained completely focused. Years of growing up in a research environment had taught him something profound. True understanding comes from patience, not fear. The ice cavern around them seemed to vibrate with an energy that defied scientific explanation. The creature's mechanical parts shifted and realigned, creating complex geometric patterns that resonated with June's mathematical sequences. Researchers watched in absolute silence. Their monitoring systems showed something impossible, a connection forming between two completely different forms of intelligence. The creature's body temperature started matching the thermal signatures around June. Its mechanical components adjusted, creating a protective field that seemed more curious than threatening. Where other species would have attacked, this being was learning. June's hands remained steady. No sudden movements, no signs of fear. Just pure, unfiltered human curiosity. The remote cameras captured something extraordinary. The massive creature, known across galaxies as a destruction mechanism, was now moving with a gentleness that seemed almost protective. "What is happening?" one researcher muttered. "First contact," another whispered back, but this wasn't just first contact. This was something more profound. A demonstration that intelligence wasn't about size or technological advancement, but about the capacity to understand, to connect, to communicate. June took another small breath. The creature matched it perfectly. Two beings, separated by unimaginable differences, finding a connection that transcended language, technology, and galactic understanding. And it all started with a boy who refused to see the universe through anyone's lens but his own. The research station continued to buzz with emergency protocols. Weapons remained charged, protective systems remained activated, But something magical was happening in the depths of Europa's frozen world. A conversation was unfolding, a friendship was beginning, and humanity was about to learn that the universe was far more complex and beautiful than anyone had ever imagined. Would you like me to continue with the same narrative approach for the final part? Part 5. A New Understanding. The first rescue team's footsteps echoed through the ice cavern like thunder. Heavily armed, fully protected, they expected a scene of destruction. Instead, they found something that would rewrite everything humanity understood about alien encounters. June sat cross-legged on the frozen ground, his thermal suit slightly dusty but intact. Beside him, the massive creature, a being that had been the nightmare of countless civilizations, rested like a massive, curious companion. The creature's sensory organs slowly turned towards the incoming team, but there was no aggression. Just observation. It moved with a gentleness that seemed impossible for something capable of destroying entire planetary systems. Rescue team leader Kim stopped dead in her tracks. Her hand hovering near her weapon slowly dropped to her side. Years of military training couldn't prepare her for this moment. "Don't move," she whispered to her team. "Nobody move." June looked up, completely calm. "It's okay," he said simply. "We were just talking." The word talking seemed absurd given the scale of the creature beside him, but something in June's voice suggested this was exactly what had happened. Cameras began recording. Communication systems across the research station went into overdrive. Every sensor, every monitoring device was capturing this impossible moment. The creature, this biomechanical marvel that had been the terror of multiple galaxies, seemed to be waiting, not threatening, not preparing to attack, just waiting. Doctor Park, June's father, pushed through the rescue team. His scientific mind was racing. Decades of research, countless theories about alien intelligence, and here was his son demonstrating something beyond any textbook or research paper. "How?" he whispered, looking at June. June just smiled. "Mathematics," he said simply. "It's a universal language." The rescue team began to lower their weapons. Something profound was happening. This wasn't a containment scenario. This was first contact in its purest form. Researchers would later describe this moment as the most significant event in human history. Not because of technological achievement, but because of something far more important: human curiosity, courage, and the ability to connect beyond fear. The creature began to emit a low, harmonic vibration. Not threatening, not aggressive. Something that felt almost musical. June placed his hand near the creature's massive sensory organ. No one moved, no one breathed. And then, something extraordinary happened. The creature's mechanical parts shifted, creating a protective field around June. It wasn't attacking. It was protecting. "We're friends," June said softly. The universe seemed to pause. Generations would tell this story. The day a human child showed that intelligence wasn't about power, it was about understanding, about connection, about seeing beyond the obvious. Rescue teams, scientists, military personnel, they all watched in complete silence. A boy and a creature, connected by something more powerful than technology, more profound than language, pure, unfiltered, curiosity. The ice caverns of Europa had just become the most important location in human history, and it all started with a 12-year-old boy who refused to be afraid. The rescue team leader looked at her communication device. "Mission status?" her commander would ask. She would respond with the most unexpected words in human history. "Contact established. Peaceful. Would you like me to make any adjustments to the narrative?"